Again, just as a point of reference and introductions, I am Paquetia Goodwin. I am a certified professional career development coach, and I teach organizational and career strategies to individual contributors. So tonight, I want to have an intimate conversation and share a little bit of my story with you in hopes that it connects to not only your heartstrings, but it connects to the position that you occupy today and the place that you're headed tomorrow. So about 17 years ago, really early, the dawn of my career, I had a great opportunity to work for a regional director at a large financial services institution here where I live. He was an ex-military man, so he was just very matter of fact. He kind of wore his glasses down on the very tip of his nose. He always kind of looked over the brim. Just very stoic, very presentation, very conservative, very, very military-esque. Like he always walked around like we should have been going to war or something. I was his administrative assistant, but not only was I his assistant, I also helped to support his organization. And so in doing so, he had about 4 or 5 direct reports, and then they had their team. So that entire organization. Back in the day, I was young, I was new to corporate roles and corporate spaces and energies and all of that. And there was this one particular individual. She was a part of one of the subordinate teams, and she wasn't nice. She just wasn't nice to me. And back then, I wore all of my emotions on my sleeve, so it was really hard for me to find a cadence to work with her, to get things done. It was just really difficult. And she was just problematic. Now that I'm a little bit older, I know she had some other things going on, and it wasn't about me, but I was a perfect target. I was a great distraction for her to deal with her own personal issues and her own growth opportunities. I was the weak link on the playground. So it was just easier to target me. And I understand that now. It doesn't make it okay, but I get it. So we got to this point in time in the year where our team, we all went to Vegas for this really huge conference. And so this particular year, my manager thought that it would be a great opportunity if I ran the show. So I was responsible for coordinating this entire event, from the budget, which was a multi-million-dollar budget. I had never done anything like that. Scheduling the travel for hundreds of employees and vendors, setting up vendor booths, getting the food, expenses, just anything you can think of, I was responsible to do it that year. He had already set his expectations, how he wanted things to unfold, what venues he wanted to use. We were at the MGM, so he had known some of the people that worked at the desk there, so he'd given me a couple of names, but everything else, I needed to work through it and figure it out. Well, there came a point in time that I had to make some decisions that really went against what this particular individual on the team, she wanted to do some different stuff, but it wasn't her money. And it really wasn't her authority to make those decisions. And it didn't matter to her because I was nothing more than somebody's assistant. And clearly she was, a step above toilet cleaner. So she really felt like she had permission and proximity to be able to tell me how I was supposed to make certain decisions and do certain things. And they needed to be done in this particular way because she wanted certain benefits for herself. Well, after, some back and forth with her trying to explain, why I couldn't do whatever it was that she wanted me to do, it was a mess. It just completely blew up. She was so rude and she was so mean to me. I didn't know how to handle that kind of experience. And so it made me cry. And I went back to my desk, and lo and behold, she and some of her friends had sent an email to my manager, and the email was horrible. It was horrible. It was everything but shy of just calling me a complete buffoon. She did call me incompetent. She called me a lot of things. So my manager had a conversation with me and asked, how did this situation escalate? And so a little side note, every morning my manager would come in, he'd walk by my desk in this military fashion, and he would say, "Good morning, Miss Goodwin." And I would say, "Hey, good morning." And he would say, And then he would walk in his office and he would close the door, leaving it slightly ajar. And from behind his desk, he would say, "Miss Goodwin?" And I would say, "Yeah." He would say, "Are you owning your space, Miss Goodwin?" "I guess, yeah." "Okay, carry on." And then later in the day, I'd be busy doing whatever I was doing, on his way to lunch or on his way to a meeting. He said, "Miss Goodwin?" "Yeah." "Are you owning your space, Miss Goodwin?" "Yeah, I'm owning my space." "Okay." So after this situation happened, he sat me down to share with me the details of this email. And I am emotional again, and I'm crying. And he says, "I refuse to match your emotion with more emotion. But I will remind you, what do I ask you every day?" Man, I don't know what you ask me every day. This girl practically cussed me out. She's a lot bigger than me, so she can beat me up. And this is just too much. Somebody else needs to do this. What do I ask you every day? He would constantly ask the same thing because he was always driving at a particular point, a particular frame of reference. And I said, I don't know. I don't know what you ask me every day. And he looked at me and he sat up in his chair and those glasses slid down. "Miss Goodwin, were you owning your space?" "I was trying to own my space, but this is what happened, and this is what happened, and this is what happened." "Stop." And then he asked me a question that I think in the moment when he asked, it completely went over my head. But here we are, fast forward 17 plus years later. That question always rings in my mind. And it really governs how I have led other teams. It governs how I build my business, how I support my family, and how I interact with relationships. What he asked me was, "Do you recognize the authority that you have access to?" "I don't understand what you're talking about." Miss Goodwin, and first of all, side note, y'all don't know how it vexed my soul that he kept calling me Miss Goodwin. Until the day he retired, he would call me Miss Goodwin. But back to this story. He said, "Miss Goodwin, you allowed everybody in every condition to tell you what to do. This is my money. This is my team. I'm responsible for the entire Southeastern region. If I snap my finger and say that it needs to happen over here, guess what? It needs to happen over here, exactly like I said it. And what you had at your disposal was my word that this is how it should be done. You didn't need to offer anybody else any explanation beyond, well, he said. And anything else should have just been moved out of the way. But instead, you tried to take on a responsibility that wasn't yours. It was mine. I told you what I had empowered you to do. The only thing you needed to do was just do." And so I share this moment with you all just to remind you of the authority that you have access to. Sometimes we allow the noise and the pressures of all the external things to really try to dictate and make decisions for us on how we're supposed to move forward in our lives, with our decisions, in our business, with our relationships. But I just want to remind you today that you need to be firm and secure on the power and the authority that you have access to. If God has already destined you to do XYZ, then you don't need my permission to do XYZ. The only thing you need to do is sink your heels into the soil and get ready to do the work, period. Years ago, Oprah Winfrey offered Iyanla Van Zant a television show or a segment on the Oprah Winfrey Show. Barbara Walters, from, I believe she was on ABC at the time, she offered Iyanla a show, her own 1 hour segment on television that would rival the 4 p.m. hour that Oprah Winfrey was on at the time. So when Oprah offered Iyanla that segment, Iyanla said, no, I can't take it because God is telling me that I should be moving over here. And Oprah said, oh, okay. Well, if God is telling you to do it, I'm going to take my hands off of it and I'll leave it alone. Well, we know that Iyanla eventually went back to Oprah because the God that she was hearing was the voice of Barbara Walters. And the show that she got from Barbara Walters didn't last. It barely made it a season. Here is the moral to that story. If you really believe that God is calling you to something, don't let somebody else come in and distract you and rob you of your blessing and rob you of your opportunity so that you have to waste years and then later on you go back to the starting point and just to get it right. And listen, I am a big advocate of course correction. If you got to go back and make things right so that you can recover and move on, then do it. But if you don't have to waste that time, don't waste that time. Please, 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 I implore you, if you've got a vision for what your business is supposed to be, if you've got a vision of your education or whatever it is, if you have that vision and you see yourself better in your future, don't allow negative people, don't allow people who've never been anywhere or accomplished anything to tell you that your journey is going to be too hard. They don't know what hard is because they haven't done this. But trust and believe that if God has promised it to you, you are built for this. This is exactly the moment that you're supposed to be in. This is exactly the information that you're supposed to receive. This is exactly the journey and the space that you are supposed to carve for yourself. So today, to the Blaze Network, ladies, I am asking you, are you owning your space today? Do you recognize the authority and the power that you actually have access to? And not only that you have access to it, do you recognize that the authority that you have in close proximity, you've already been given permission to use it? You've been given permission to go and do whatever it is that you need to do. So be bold, be brave, be fearless, be courageous, be scared, but be exactly what it is that you are supposed to be. And don't let anybody take that from you. Because listen, that lesson was given to me decades ago. I'm 47 now. It's just now sinking in. I am just now standing in the fullness of who he was talking to. Sometimes people meet you in a moment and they can see the greatness that exists inside you and around you, and you haven't yet to experience it yet. So I'm talking to the future you, the future millionaire, the future mover and shaker, the future wife, the future CEO, the future whatever. I'm talking to her because this person is not yet equipped to be able to handle the magnitude of how amazing you are. I say to her, go and be impeccable. Do whatever it is that you do without shame or without regret. Try it. If it fails, who cares? Failures are just lessons learned. They are not indictments against your character, and they are not indictments against your possibilities or your capabilities. You are absolutely capable and worthy of all the opportunities that await you. So listen, again, Blaze Network, are you owning your space? That's the question that I will leave with you today. I thank you so much for allowing me to share pieces of my heart with yours. And I thank you for listening to my TED Talk.
Y'all, don't we love Paquetia? Let me throw some hearts on the stage myself. Paquetia with the beautiful spirit, Paquetia with the transparent heart, Paquetia with a loving, loving, loving soul. And Paquita, don't you worry. We had names for that woman since you know, were very nice about what she was. But look at you today, right? Look how you are leveraging that sword to empower everyone, and even that annoying man who said Miss Goodwin. Now you can look back on it and understand what he was trying to teach. And I think that's a deep part too, right? Like people plant seeds inside of us along the journey. And even if we don't get it in that moment, like they are so important. Proximity to power is so important, right? Because it plants seeds that will bud later on, right? So even in this summit, I think there are gems that are being dropped on each of us that are just planting seeds, and we can't fully digest it yet today, but it's going to bloom and grow. So kudos to everybody for being in this space. Of course, I want to hear from you. We have 12 minutes until the next session, which is a workshop. So a workshop, you're going to need your pens and your paper for. And then we have another DJ set after that, y'all. But in this 12 minutes that we have, I want to hear from you, right? What are your reactions? What are your thoughts? Even affirmations for Paquita. Somebody give this woman her flowers, y'all. She deserves. Hit the raise hand button under the screen. It'll look like a hand like this. If you'd like to come to the stage for a second and share what's on your heart or your mind. And if y'all don't know me, I'm going to wait for this. Blaze means building leaders and accepting zero excuses. So we're going to get comfortable with the sound of our own voice. Who'd like to come up? Do. All right. Nina, I'm pulling you up.
All right. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Hey, girl.
Hey, girl. Hey. Listen, I need some oil for my edges because they have been completely snatched. Like just the power in those 6 words or 3 words, own your space. It just has so much meaning that can be infiltrated into business and personal and relationships and just every aspect of life. Like I need a tattoo of it, like right now. Like it's just a constant reminder, because it has so much meaning, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally, and owning your space and owning your feelings and being justified and validated in that, and not needing anybody else's stamp of approval in owning your space. So flowers.
Huge flowers. I agree. Thank you so much, Nina. Thank you so much. I agree. We have 2 more. Let me pull up Katrina. You are coming to the stage, Mamacita. Hey, girl. Hey.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Oh, you didn't see me.
Yeah.
Hello, you guys. Now, let me just be honest, y'all. I came in the room and I was late. And I'm something like real late, like at the end, she was wrapping up the first story, right? So I know y'all got a whole something different than I got. So I said, I must share, you see?
Yeah, come on.
When I came on, she was talking about, do I know the authority that I have access to? And it made me think about my daddy. It made me think about who I was in the kingdom. Come on now. I don't know what she said before that. But when she said that, I thought about, do you know the authority that I come in because of the power that I have access to?
Come on, Katrina.
It changed the perspective of everything that's happening in my life right now.
Say it.
Right now. I was fighting and didn't need to fight. I was supposed to rest. He was supposed to. He started it, so he'll finish it.
Yep.
It's so good, y'all.
It's
so good. The revelation, I'm talking about, like, it's on me. It's sitting on me. It's like it's like you just something clicked and your whole life forever changed. And then when you talked about someone from the past, when you came on, that made an impact in our life, that we can now see the fruit that they have sown. It's been a lot of bad fruit that we be concentrating on, and that was something good fruit. That was some good fruit. Quit focusing on the bad fruit. I think somebody said it yesterday, flip the focus, didn't it?
Yes, they did say that.
Yeah, so now we need to focus on the good fruit because we've been focusing on the bad fruit so much long. We don't even realize it. I think somebody said it on yesterday, how we stuck in an old place. We somebody put all this on us. We weren't even supposed to do all
this.
And so now that we know the access to power,
Say that, sis.
The access to power on the other, it's not in another room. It's not on the other side of the world. It's not, I got to wait days to get. I got access to it because it's in me. Come on.
It's in you. That's right.
I didn't tap into it.
Yep.
Oh, thank you so much, Miss Goodwin. I don't know what the play on words that I heard you say that bothers you when he said, but Miss Goodman, come on, you opened my eyes today. You opened my eyes today and caused me to see further. When she said that, y'all, it made me think about when I was in college. I went back to school. I'm gonna share this and I'm getting out. But I went back to school at an older age. I graduated just in 2019 with my bachelor's, but I had been a manager for over 13 years.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you. So, but when I went back, I had waited for 2 hours to do registration. And when it was my turn next, the seat changed. Another person came in and sat down. And I just sat waiting. And he said, who was next? And some people tried to skip me, and the lady told me. But when I was the first one for this man, he put me in his class. I did not know that was the chair of my department.
Wow, sis.
So when the seat changed, my access to power
yes, ma'am,
opened up.
Yes,
ma'am, opened up. Another level opened up because the seat changed. Come on. We've been hearing that change of power, that whatever, the changing of the garden, all this kind of stuff. And everybody had their gist of it. But that's what it is. When it's your turn, the seed to change. That's and you will now see how that seed took fruit. And grew. It grew, look, and produced fruit. Girl, this is what I got from this little bit that I heard. Can't wait to go back. I don't know if I'm owning my space, but today you showed me how to really own it. It's to rest in God. I can quit getting up, trying to manage this stuff. I can relax because I got access to power. That's what I wanted to say, you guys.
Baby, that was good right there. You preached a sermon just now. You cliff notes right here. I honor you, and just keep going, sis. Like, you got a gift on you. You have a gift on you, so you keep going, and you have a tribe. I promise. You have a tribe behind you, so you just let us know what you need, and where we need to be. Okay, we got you.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you. You too, Mama. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Jazz, I'm bringing you up, Mama.
Hey. PG, man, sis, you really did the thing with this. Assignment understood and completed. I have a question for you. And I'm really thinking about how to activate my student leaders on campus, how to call the best out of them. And I probably will become like your manager who will ask them daily, are you owning your space? And so my question is more how do you continue to coach folks up in that, right? When students are still learning their agency and their power and their authority, what are some tips, tools, or strategies that you have for coaching them up to own all of the spaces that they get to inhabit? Hey, sis.
Listen, you have to see them. When my manager did for me all those years ago, is he saw me. He saw me every morning. He saw me on his way to lunch. He saw me on his way to his meetings and sitting at his desk. Miss Goodwin, are you owning your space today? Good morning, Miss Goodwin. Good afternoon, Miss Goodwin. Somebody had to see me. And even though it didn't resonate with me in that moment, here I am today, and I fully embrace leadership. I fully embrace management. I fully embrace all the opportunities that are ahead of me because somebody saw me back then when those opportunities I didn't have access. And sometimes people need to know that just because you don't have access today does not mean that the tables won't turn. Just like Katrina said, the switch won't get flipped. You'll have access tomorrow. And if I saw you then, there's a scripture in the Bible when the prophet Elijah is getting ready to be ascended into heaven, and he's walking with his student Elisha, and the other prophets gather around because they wanted to be his student, and they kept saying, "Your master's getting ready to leave you today." And Elisha would say, "Okay, I already know that, so be quiet." Sometimes, and so what Elijah says to his student is, "You can have my mantle. I can pass my grace on to you if you see me when I'm taken." The problem is that sometimes the student wants to be the teacher and the teacher wants to be the student, but you have not seen the chain of command. You haven't seen the knowledge, and so you haven't seen the experiences. You haven't been watching while I was being an example in front of you. So you continue to be an example in front of them. You let them know that you see them, and eventually they're going to see you. And so then when you start depositing nuggets into their life, it's easy for me to pull up when I have an example, when I can take notes, when I can see something being demonstrated in front of me. But if they can't see opportunity and you don't let them know that I see you and you are worthy of this moment, then sometimes it doesn't connect. It won't translate. So see them where they are in all of their messiness and all of their dysfunction. See beyond that. See beyond that. When my office is dirty, I know how beautiful it is in this space. But in the moment when there's stuff all over the place, I got to remember what it looked like before it got to this point, and I got to just be willing to do the work, clean it up, move the clutter. They need to know that you see them, and that's how you coach up.
Yeah, man, that's so good. That's a good reminder, man. That's good. That's good.
That's
Thanks,
good.
sis.
Great question, Jazz. Thank you so much, Paqueta, for that response. Woo. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Paqueta. You killed it. Okay, you killed it, sis. You all will hear more from Paqueta later in the summit. So keep on coming back. Please, please keep on coming back. If you loved what you heard from June, I know you did. June, I hope you saw all those comments in your session. Amazing. If you love what you heard from Toya, who kicked off the summit today, make sure you stick around today because they're doing a panel discussion later on today, and we'll have a person from London as well joining them. And it's on women's leadership development. So we're in a vein today. We're intentionally in a vein today. Okay. But next, we are going to have a workshop. Bring your pens and your paper. And it is going to be on avoiding burnout, right? Because when you are doing the work of leader, when you're in the position of leader, right? It is a tendency for us to overstretch, right? And really burn ourselves out. So we're going to get some expert help on avoiding burnout. I'll see you on the other side, ladies. Please do fill out the poll for this session right here so that Paqueta has some good feedback. All right. I love you. I mean it. I'll see you in a second. Bye.